Okay, so to start off is we're going to discuss the area of a plane region. So it's area. So probably be you might be wondering why we're going to discuss area wherein we have in fact formulas for um, the known figures such as circle, triangle, rectangle, square, so on and so forth. But actually before those formula happen, let's say for the triangle 1/2 base times height. So it was actually derived using your integrals. Okay, so that's why it became 1/2 base times height. So that's through the use of integral calculus. Okay, so we're going to be tackling um, the area of a plane region. So meaning it's bounded by, so it's a bounded region because we don't solve area nga naibuslot, di ba? So dapat it's totally enclosed. And usually the bounded regions are being bounded by equations. So equation of a line. So it also may be equation by a curve, so on and so forth. So I think what necessary skill that you need to have here is you know how to interpret lines and curves and you know how to graph them. So most likely you're going to encounter three scenarios. So you're going to solve the area above the x-axis or maybe below the x-axis. You're going to also solve a region between two curves. Okay, so straight away with the formula. So we're going to have two types of formula. So you're going to have first the vertical strip. So vertical strip. And then the formula for which is the area is equal to the integral of y top, y sub t, y top, and y bottom dx. Okay. So why is it in this manner? So that would be from x1 to x2. So why is it in this manner? So if we try to draw your vertical strip, so it looks like a rectangle, di ba? So we know that the area for a rectangle is length times width, di ba? So the length would be, so of course, let's try to orient it on the other way. So the length would be this one, coming longer direction, and then the shorter direction would be the width. So to interpret the formula, all you have to do is to try to look at the top portion of the strip. So for example, this one is the top portion. So whatever the top portion is touching, let's say is touching this particular equation, that would be your y top equation. Then whatever the bottom strip is touching, that would be the y bottom equation. Okay, so of course, if you try to get the length of your vertical strip, that would be y top minus y bottom. And then the thickness, so of course, this one is the thickness. This would be dx. Okay, so that's why if you try to look at the formula, it's just length times width. So of course, since it's a summation of multiple rectangles, so what you need to do here is to express it in integral form and then sum it up from x1 going to x2. So one way of presenting this one is, let's say, for example, let's bound your area first. Okay, so let's say you're going to have a line here. And let's say the other figure would be a parabola. Siguro, di ba? So this one is the area bounded, di ba? From this portion here going to this point here, points of intersection. So this would define your x1 and x2. So x1, y1, then the other point would be x2, y2. So I think the other tip here would be that the vertical strip should be consistent all throughout the portions of your bounded region. So what do I mean by that is that if I try to place my vertical strip on the most left portion, the top portion and the bottom portion would be touching the same equation. Diba? So the y top is the same, whichever part you're going to place your vertical strip. So if I'm going to place it here at the very end, so notice that it is still touching the same equation. So for the top portion, it's still the red graph. For the bottom part of the graph, it's still the maroon color. So, diba? Same as this one, the middle part. So I think one way of verifying, a faster manner of verifying that your vertical strip is okay, is that to place vertical strips at the end. So at the leftmost portion, at the middle part, and at the rightmost portion. So if you can see that it's touching the same graph, meaning that your equation is okay, or the application of the vertical strip is okay all throughout the bounded region. Okay, so that would be for the vertical strip. So the other formula would be the horizontal strip, which is the formula for the horizontal strip. So let me write it first. Is the area is equal to x right. So that would be the right portion of the strip minus x left and then dy. And that would be from y1 to y2. Okay, so horizontal strip would be in this manner. Okay, so again, the rightmost portion. So let me try to. So the right portion touching a certain graph would be your x right. Then this one would be x left. And then the width would be dy. So of course the length will be defined by subtracting, di ba? X right minus x left. Okay, so again, another tip here is let's try to create a graph. So let's say two parabolas. Okay, so let's say that's the bounded region. So of course we can say that the bounded region can be defined further by classifying or by verifying the points first. So for example, this is the point of intersection. So again, this can be defined as x1, y1, and then the other one is x2, y2. So again, to verify first, so all you have to do is to write graphs, create a horizontal strip at the bottom and at the top if it's touching the same portion. So x right is the same as the middle part. X right is still the purple one. X left is the black graph. X left is the black graph. Okay. So again, it's still length times width. So just two methods, and of course you can just memorize the formula or try to understand the formula, as long as you have to remember that this one is the formula. So again, since you are able to use your calculator, so I think the dilemma later on will be on how to graph your equations. Then another dilemma would be the conversion of your equations. So looking for the points of intersection, looking for, let's say, converting the x into y aspect or other way around, x in terms of y. So those are two different dilemmas that you'll be facing later on, if ever you don't have this one in your senior high. Okay, so I think that's what I observed so far in the K to 12 na program. So mostly katong mga first two batches that I handled is that they had a difficulty in graphing because they don't have any graphing in senior high. And probably most of them already forgot how to get points of intersection between two equations. So murag mo na siya yung dilemma later on. Okay, so there are 5 steps, but we can just narrow this one into 2 steps since again, you don't have to manually integrate your equation. And I think the most difficult portion here is number 1, sketching the graph. Okay, so again, we're not limited to lines only, but we're going to be sketching the curves and any other types of equations. So for curves, you have parabola, then we have ellipse, then we have hyperbola. So daghang kayo siya. So again, um, you have to know the standard equation of this one. Standard equation, general equation, for you to be able to determine that these are the certain types of curves. So standard equation, general equation. So I think if nasa sa yung senior high, so it's a better it's a better advantage for you guys. Okay, so after sketching the graph, so you may just skip it as you may skip it to number 3. So pretending it as a rectangle. So it may be vertical strip or horizontal strip that you want to use in your equation. So again, whatever strip you're going to use, it would always still give you the same answer. So I think the main difference between the two strips is the presentation of the equation. So it may be that in the vertical strip, the equation is presented in an easy manner. So meaning the calculator will not have a hard time giving you the answer. On the other hand, if it's horizontal strip, so probably it will give you a difficult equation. And then, so of course, kaya ka pa sa calculator, but it will take longer lang siguro for the calculator to give you the answer. So I think that's the difference. So for example, di ba, vertical strip is y equals x something, di ba? So let's say y equals x to the power of 4. So of course, this one is easy to integrate. So pwede rin siya manually integrate, di ba? X to the 5 over 5. Then give the limits of integration. So what if in terms of x? So x equals fourth root of y na siya, di ba? Yeah, sure kung you need extra steps here if you're going to solve this manually. Diba? So plus 1. Diba? So medyo we're going to have a difficulty in integrating. But again, since we're going to use your calculator, so of course, dim sana para ka bright ang calculator sad. So maglisod pa na siya, di ba? So there are times wherein this one is easier for the calculator to integrate compared to this one here. So kamo na yung mag-gauge ana whether you're going to use vertical strip or horizontal strip. Basta ang inyong tip ana is after graphing the equation, try looking at the equation given if it's better to express it in vertical strip or horizontal strip. Okay, so two steps, and then after determining vertical strip or horizontal strip, use the formula. So mura dyan na sa inyong button all throughout the problem. Okay, so let's try solving this one first, but we're going to solve it first using the vertical strip, and then afterwards we compare it using the horizontal strip. So ato siyang i-verify if same ba sila answer or dili. So in most problems later on in your, let's say, final exam, you won't be given with the graph. So you need to graph the equation and then solve all the necessary things that you need to solve in the area. Okay? So mostly mura siyang given, mura one sentence lang. So you have to find the area of the region bounded by the line y equals 3x and then the curve y equals x squared. So notice it's only curve, diba? But this one is actually a parabola. So again, if you don't know if this one is a parabola, so try searching for the standard equation of the parabola. So this one obviously is a line, di ba? Kay linear man siya. Yeah, most likely mas dali ta sa line, di ba? Kay since it's on high school budget or let's say elementary, y equals mx plus b. So kiba ta na. So for parabola, medyo dagan-dagan siya. Atong x minus h squared is equal to plus minus 4a y minus k, di ba? Then the other version of this one is y minus k squared is equal to plus minus 4a x minus h. So, di ba, if kibaw mo ani, so probably it's good. But if not, medyo tagili tagamay. Okay? So the first thing that you need to do is to equate the two equations. Because by equating, we can look for the points of intersection. Points of intersection. And the points of intersection would be useful later in getting the x1, y1, and then x2, y2. Because again, this will be useful in the boundary of the limits, di ba? From x1 to x2 or from y1 to y2. So we have to equate the equations, di ba? So I think in your algebra before, if you want to look for the points of intersection, you're going to equate the two equations. So probably that's sa inyong high school man siguro na siya. Okay, so y equals 3x, and the other one is y equals x squared. Okay, so equating, so y against y, so that would be 3x is equal to x squared. So isolating all on the left side, x squared plus 3x equals 0. That would be minus 3x. Okay, so getting the roots of x, so factoring out 1x would give us x minus 3 is equal to 0. So the x values would be x equals 0 and then x equals 1. X equals 3 rather. 1 naman on. Okay. So next thing that you need to do is either use the two equations above to solve for y. So let's try using the first equation since it's an easy one. So at x equals 0, so y equals 3x, then 3 times 0. So y is equal to 0. So the first point of intersection would be at 0, and 0. So for the second one, x at 3. So y equals 3x. And then you're going to have 3 times 3. And then y equals 9. So the second point of intersection would be at 3 and then 9. So after getting the points of intersection, so the next thing that you need to do is to create a graph. So I think also getting the points of intersection is a way of shortcut in determining the area of your or the graph itself. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so lapas din siya. So what the first one is at 0, 0, and then the other one would be at 3, 9. Okay, so ano shortcut man siya because of course all you have to do is to connect the two dots depending on what type of graph that you're going to have. So let's have the line first. So connect the two dots. So that would be the line. So this is y equals 3x. Then the other one would be the parabola. So again, daghang kay shortcut ang parabola. So whichever is linear, dito na ma-open ang parabola. So since y is linear and it's positive, so it's opening upward. I'm sorry. Kita yung answer nun. So ano siya, di ba? So pasensya lang daan sa drawing kay Alisa. So may drawing ako. I cannot see something dyan. Hindi siya may erase. Basa mo na siya. Okay, so next portion is we're going to create the vertical strip. So again, to verify this one, you may write also vertical strips at the end to verify if it's touching the same one. So looking at the top graph, it's always touching the green graph. And then the bottom part is always touching the blue graph. So let me write first the blue graph. So blue graph is equal to y equals x squared. So most likely the blue graph, ano may erase man yung one. So most likely the blue graph, y equals x squared, will become the y bottom. And then the green graph, buang naman akong kuha eh. Then the green graph would be y top is equal to 3x. Okay? Naka-erase nyo tanan jud. Ano kasabot? Okay, so for the formula, so that would be, since we're going to use the vertical strip, y top minus y bottom from x1 to x2. So by formula, that would be from 0 to 3. And then y top is the green graph, that would be 3x minus the blue graph, that would be x squared. Y bottom is equal to x squared. And then at this point, you can just use your calculator. And then the answer would be in square units since we are solving for the area. So try and solve this one as a practice also on how to plug in your equations in your calculator. So how much is the answer?
4.5, sir.
So 4.5 square units. So you may write it in fractional form since most of the calculators give you a fractional format. Or you may also write it in decimal. So 9 over 2 or 4.5 square units. That's the answer. Okay, so questions for the vertical strip. So again, as you notice, most likely the problem will be at the graphing and then the other stuff, diba? Kani siya, getting the points of intersection. Then afterwards is creating the graph itself. Because I think the easy part is kani, diba? So if your drawing is correct, so you may utilize the formula in a correct manner, but if your drawing is wrong, so probably maglisod mo og get sa correct answer kay again, di ba? Ang atong formula is we only have 3 lines, di ba? So formula, then you plug in the equation, and then you get the answer because you can use your calculator. So ana na siya. So this would be the solution. Oops. Giampat na sa akong laptop. So this should be the answer. So in other books, ilahang top and bottom would be expressed in upper and lower portion. So that's why it's y sub u, and then the other one is y sub l. Because in other books, it's expressed as y upper, the upper portion of the strip, and then lower is the lower part of the strip, l. Okay, so do you have questions before we proceed with solving the horizontal strip, Nasad? Okay, so there's no question. So let's try to proceed with the horizontal strip. So I just borrowed the graph from the previous problem. So we're still going to solve the same problem to verify whether we're still going to get 4.5 if we're going to use the horizontal strip. Okay, so verifying the portion. So starting at the middle, if it's touching the same, then at the top portion, then at the bottom portion. So notice that the right and the left portions are all blue and then the left portions are all red. Diba? So same siya, diba? So red. And then the right portion or the blue graph, which is X right. Okay. So if you want to use the horizontal strip, so what you have to do is, let's write it first. So for y top, for x left, so since the left portion is the red graph, so y is equal to 3x. So we're going to express it in terms of x. So divide everything by 3. So you're going to have y over 3 is equal to x. And again, this one becomes x left equals y over 3. So again, the sub L is just a representation that it's the left part of the graph. Okay. Same goes for your y top and y bottom. So for the blue graph, you have y equals x squared. So getting the square root, this gives us square root of y equals x. And this would give us x right is equal to square root of y. Okay, so solving now using a horizontal strip. So the formula would be x right minus x left dy from y1 to y2. Okay, so y1 to y2 is now 0 to 9. So from 0 to 9. And then starting off with x right, that would be square root of y minus x left, that would be y over 3. And then dy. And then you now solve the area using your calculator. So I hope that it's still 4.5 square units. So if you try to notice that there's a difference in the equation, diba? So you now have square root, and again, having the square root may be a bit difficult for the calculator. So this is difficult, but of course it will take some time for the calculator to solve the integrals of radical expressions. Okay, so try it in your with your calculator. Lawa naman ito bag. Sige, pag solve mo diya kayo, wala ba ko'y calculator dire? O, Jim, answer? Ala ko, to di talas 12 dire, way answer. Magawa ko si answer jud. Okay, so this is 9 over 2 or 4.5. Okay, and this is the solution. Okay, so this time is we're going to solve another problem. So again, the first step is always to equate your equations. So y equals x to the power 4. Then the other one is y equals 2x minus x squared. Okay, so this one is a curve. So not we don't have any names for this one, but it's a curve. So this one is a parabola. So again, if you don't know how to um, determine those types of equations, so try reviewing it as early as now. Okay, I think we're going to graph equations up until the very end. Okay, so we're going to have x to the power 4 is equal to 2x minus x squared. Okay, so isolating all on the left side, 2x, ito yung gansa. So plus x squared, then minus 2x equals 0. So getting 1x first, so we have x cubed plus x minus 2 equals 0. Okay, so the first x is equal to 0, but for the other values of x, so this one is try using your calculator in getting the roots of a third degree polynomial. So try searching it in your calculator. Ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d. And you will get the roots of x. So the answer is ano siya? Duha ra ka buok. 0 and then 1. So probably there are four roots, but the other roots are repeating. So 0, 1 ano siya. Okay, so after determining the roots, so again, this time is we're going to get the y aspect. So at x equals 0, so again, you may use either the two equations presented above. So in this case, let's use 1 because it's just one term. So y equals x to the power 4, then y is equal to 0 to the power 4, which is equal to 0. So the first point is at 0 and 0. The next one is at x equals 1. So y equals x to the power 4. Then you have 1 to the power 4, and it will give you y equals 1. So the next point of intersection is at 1 and 1. So again, by this time, you know how to equate your equations since this one is still from your high school days and also probably in your senior high. Okay, so the next thing that you need to do is to graph your equations. So graphing your equations. So since it's 1 and 1 lang, di ba? 1, so let's try to make it big. So the first one is at 0 and 0. Then this one is at 1 and 1. Okay, so for y equals x to the power 4, so since y is linear, so meaning it is opening above, di ba? So that's the shortcut sa mga parabolas or kanang mga one is linear then the other one is not linear. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. Then the other one is opening downwards. So why is it opening downwards? So if you try to manipulate the equation in standard form, so if you want to, so this would give us negative x squared minus 2x and then y, di ba? So divide everything by negative. So it's negative y and then x squared minus 2x. So ano na siya? Okay, so it's opening downwards. So paana siya? So like mura na siya yung pinaka-shortcut thing that you need to do. So of course, if you want to really graph your equation, so try looking it up online on how to graph equations. So you can use table method, kind of manual. So starting from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ana. So pwede na po na siya to graph your equations. But this one is just a shortcut version if if advanced na kayo mo or you have a basic knowledge on equating equations or let's say graphing equations. Okay, so that would be the graph. So in actual graph jud, so um muna siya ang graph. Okay. So it's not really a perfect graph that I have created, but so if you want to try to verify your graph later on with a given assignment, so try verifying it using Desmos. So of course, pag verify na siya, not to copy and 100. So especially in the exam, so so bawal na sa exam. Okay, so let's try solving it using the two methods. So let's try to solve it using vertical strip first. So since it's already given in the figure, so area is equal to y1 to y2. It's not y1 there, but it's x1 to x2. Then y top minus y bottom dx. So notice that y top and y bottom is already can be replaced directly in the equation. So that's from 0 to 1, 0 to 1. And then we're going to put y top first. So y top is 2x minus x squared. Then y bottom is the blue graph. That would be x to the power of 4. So again, you may use your calculator. So what was your answer? If I answer, walay ko. Did you tama man ni?
7/15 akong nakuha, sir.
So the answer is 7 over 15. Okay, so let's verify that one using the horizontal strip. So horizontal strip is just have to create the strip here. So of course, if you try to verify it on the other portion is still the same, diba? The right and the left is touching the same graph. So the right portion is touching the blue graph, and then the left portion is touching the red graph. So since we are now in terms of x right and x left, so what you need to do here is to try to convert this one in terms of x, in terms of y rather. So getting the fourth root, well, so this one is the fourth root of y, then this one is x. So meaning in terms of y, so x is equal to fourth root of y. Then the other one is, this one is a bit complicated. So you have to complete the square here. So x squared minus 2x then equals negative y, di ba? Positive y pa de. So divide by everything by negative y. So let's reverse na lang siguro. X squared minus 2x equals negative y. So ato siyang rearrange ha. Then completing the square. So x squared minus 2x. So why do we need to complete the square? Okay, if we try to isolate x here, x squared man, diba? Then isa na pa dyan x. So we cannot really isolate completely the x variable. So we need to complete the square to create a binomial wherein there's only one x available. So completing the square, this one is 1, diba? Middle term divided by 2 and then square. That's plus 1. So negative y, and then to make the equation balance, so plus 1 on the other side as well. Diba? Completing the square. So the left side becomes x minus 1 squared, then negative y plus 1. Or if you want to make 1 first, okay, di mo gana makita negative, so you may also try to rearrange it as 1 minus y. So get the square root, so it becomes x minus 1 equals square root of 1 minus y. Then isolating x equals square root of 1 minus y plus 1. Okay, so this becomes xr, fourth root of y. Then this one is x left, since it's the red graph, x left is equal to 1 minus y plus 1. So di ba murag hassle kay siya if you are converting it to another strip. Okay, so horizontal strip now. So the formula is x right minus x left dy from y1 to y2. And then you're going to have from still 0 to 1, 0 to 1. And then x right is fourth root of y minus x left, that would be 1 minus y plus 1, and then dy. Then this will be the answer. So probably it will take some time for the calculator to give you the answer, since it's dealing with fourth root, and then the other one is square root of 1 minus y. So answer please if nakakuha mo. Lo, unsa naman mo?
Gawat pas calculator.
Negative 13 over 15. So dapat kuan siya 7 over 15 gyapon siya. So probably there's something wrong sa pag-input sa inyong calculator. So try to isolate yun every term. Like, mo bitaw nagbutaw og parenthesis diri para inyo siyang makuan ba. Okay, so ano siya, it's 7 over 15. Dapat it should be 7 over 15 also. So just try to review this one. So that's 7 over 15. Okay, so any questions for this topic? So I think that's how you want to solve your area. And again, I'm not going to discuss much about this because I think the difficult part on this topic is the graphing aspect. And again, if you don't know how to graph, so probably you want to try to review it. So I think there are a couple of ways in solving your or in creating graphs. So aside from the points of intersection, so the other method would be to try to understand the standard equation of the equations and also trying to solve it manually by creating a table, di ba? So if tabular method, so you may start with x and then y, di ba? So you may start with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then whatever the value of y here is. So pwede siya na manual method. Okay, so for your assignment, I'm going to post this one later. So you're going to have answers na daan para you can verify um, your assignment. So I'm going to post this afternoon together with the recording. All right, so any questions or clarifications before we end our session?